Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Kadha, where we believe that everyone has an amazing story, and what an amazing story we have for you today. Welcome, Amynah. Welcome to Kadha. Thank you so much for joining us today. Amynah is a dear friend, a yogini, a product manager, the co-founder of Earthloved, and many other things. But most importantly, she is the kindest and most loving human being I have ever run into. So I know that all of you are going to have a wonderful time listening to Amynah and her journey, and it's the perfect fit for Valentine's Day.
Hi, Julie. Thank you for having me. And it's such an honor to be on a show that marries unity and diversity and brings out these stories of inspiration. Something that's so much needed in the world of today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amynah. That's very kind. Once again, welcome. I'm looking forward to our conversation today. To kick things off, could you tell us a little bit about your journey so far?
That's such an interesting question. Well, let's start with my journey when I flew from Bombay to Chicago. And this was about 20 some years ago. I had my two little girls with me, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. Just to give you a little backlog on the story, I was married when I was about 18 and a half. It was an arranged marriage, very traditional to the Indian way of living. By the way, I'm half Portuguese and half Indian, and I did grow up in India. And I lived in a joint family. We had the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, the brother-in-law, the entire family dynamic that you, I'm sure, are aware of. And I was married for a while, and things were going a little bit difficult. Things were a little difficult. Without getting much into it, it was time to find new grounds and move out. And my husband at the time and we decided that because my family, my siblings had all moved to the US, we were all students here, that we would move to the US. And I flew out with the girls, and he was supposed to wrap some stuff up and then follow me. And that is where my journey started. And oh boy, it's been an amazing journey. After I came in, a month and a half later, I remember getting a call from my husband at the time, and he said he wanted out.
Wow.
There was somebody else, and
Oh my gosh.
well, I never went back and really verified, but when he said he wanted out, I think the only question I asked him was, will you be happier in that circumstance, or whoever it is with, than you would be in our family unit? And if you do, then I'll sign the divorce papers, because he had sent in the divorce papers. And I remember his response was, yes, please do. And I did. And since then, we'd had no contact, no support from him, hadn't talked to the girls or me in forever. So now I was here in what is called the land of opportunities. I had lived in India, my education was from India, and I knew I had to do something. I remember sitting in my car, Julie, and just crying my heart out and letting all those emotions flow out. And at that moment, I decided the first thing I needed to do was forgive him. That I believe is such a barrier in our lives when we hold on to our emotions and our regrets and our anger. So I remember the very first thing, openly saying it out and saying, you know what, I'm going to forgive you and I'm going to move on, because I have 2 girls to raise. So my options were either sit and moan and cry, or dust myself up and say, hey, I've got this. Let's keep going. And the first thing I decided to do was enroll in school. So I went to Loyola, I got enrolled in the program for my bachelor's. And, you know, Julie, the one thing that I have always felt so deep in my heart is that God holds you in His arms when you're in difficulty. And these messages come to us even before we land in these troubled times, per se. So I had read The Footprints. Have you read The Footprints ever?
No, I have not.
Oh, it's a beautiful poem. And the way the footprint goes is this man has a dream. And in his dream, he sees the Lord. And he's walking on a beach with the Lord. And he sees two sets of footprints. And as the dream goes on, he sees there were some troubled times in his life. And during those troubled times, he sees only one set of footprints. So he goes to the Lord and says, Lord, during the time I really needed you, you were not next to me. I only see one set of footprints. And the Lord says, you know, my child, those are my set of footprints because I was holding you during that time.
Wow.
And Julie, that is my belief. That is what I've always believed in. That when we are in times of need, He holds us even closer and dearer to His heart. And that has helped me live through life. So going back to school, I remember I used to be a full-time single parent, working full-time. I was working at the Gap at the time. I was front end, and I was a full-time student. And I had my 21-year-old brother supporting me at the time. Somebody I had almost helped raise as a kid. My family, my siblings were here, so they all banded together to help me. But you know what's beautiful about those times when I think about it? I never felt the pain. I think that is what happens when you forgive. You don't feel the pain. It was day to day. I was having fun with the girls. We would do things together. Times were a little tough, of course, in every aspect of the word. But at the same time, there was no pain as such. I was just about to graduate, and I had been here for about 4 years at the time. And I met my husband, my current husband. And he has truly been my knight in shining armor.
Wow.
And it's interesting. I don't know if the way we met is we went to the same lady to get a haircut in Chicago. And this and this was an older lady. She was an older Iranian lady, Nancy, and she goes to me one day, I know this guy, he comes to me, and Anthony, my husband's name is Anthony, has a son. He's like, he has a son and he's just an amazing guy, and if I had a daughter, I would want her to marry him. And I'm like, okay, all right. And it so happened that Nancy gave me a bad haircut and I stopped going to her for a year. So after a year, I went back to her and she goes, Amynah, where have you been? Anthony's been asking about you. And I go, who's Anthony? She's like, remember the guy I told you about? Can you at least give him a phone call so he gets off my back? And she apparently had told him about this Indian girl and whatever story she had weaved. So we did end up talking. And as life should have it, we ended up meeting that day. And it was just a very short meeting, but it was a meeting that was so heartfelt. We just walked around and exchanged our ideas and views about the world, and it just felt like we knew each other forever. And next day I remember getting a call from Anthony saying, hey, I just walked into work and my colleagues think I'm in love. And I'm like, no! I'm like, we just met yesterday. I'm not sure if you're in love. But it so happened that 10 days after we met a few times, and he proposed to me with a ring in his hand.
Wow, 10 days.
10 days. I was supposed to go to Atlanta for a summer camp, and he was like, I'm not going to let you go without taking the ring. But the beauty of it is, and I wasn't expecting it at all, when he proposed, Julie, it's like the only answer I had was a yes. It was not even a contemplation or a questioning. It it just felt so natural, so organic, the only answer I could give him. And we've been married for 16 years now.
Wow. What an incredible story, Amynah. That is, I was going to say many things. I'll just have to note a couple. One, I mean, you raised 2 kids, 3 and 5-year-old kids on your own while working a job and going to school full time. I mean, that's, I don't know. I don't know about other people, but like I would have fallen apart, like in the process of trying to do something like that. So that's very brave and courageous. And of course, faith, hope, and, sort of belief in God helps us. But at the end of the day, you have to do the job, right? Like you have to make it happen. You have to get up, like you said, dust yourself off and get on with the journey.
Julie, when we talk about faith and we talk about courage, I believe I inherit that from my mom. She's one of the strongest people I know, and she's been my rock throughout my life. And I can say my kids have been my pole star, my guiding light. They keep me real and they keep me on path, all 3 of them.
That is incredible. Do you think that being in America helped you, was an advantage, worked to your advantage, or it didn't matter where you were, this things sort of still sort of gone on the same way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so proud to be an American. In fact, recently, all of my family has migrated to Canada. They're all Canadians. And they've been, why don't you come to Canada so you can be close to us? And I'm like, nope, I am not leaving my country. America is my country. It's the country I love and the country I really appreciate everything that it has given me, including, of course, my husband. But the opportunities it created, the opportunity to go back to school, the opportunity to work, the opportunity not to be judged or to be confined to rules that, you can only do this or you can only do that, where people have been so welcoming. People have been so helpful. I remember I had enrolled in Loyola and I'd met Dr. Reese, the dean, when I went to sign up for my classes, and I'd had a brief conversation with her, so she knew a little bit about my background. And the very first year, I couldn't get my monetary assistance together to pay my fees. So on the first day of class, I walked into her office and said, Dr. Reese, I don't think I'll be able to attend this semester. Julie, without saying a word, she picks up the phone, she calls administration, and she goes, there is a student here. I do not want to charge her the fees for dropping off on the first day because there was a 10% fee that you have to pay, right? And she's like, Amynah, when you're ready, just come back. And I did.
Wow.
It is so cool when people help each other, right? Like just the little, it's a big thing in the grand scheme of things in that moment. But I'm sure for her it was an act of kindness that was easy to do, and it made someone's life so much better. And I don't think we take a moment to reflect on that, right? Like, what is it? What are the little things we can do to help others?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And this was just a very small example. I have met some wonderful people in my life. People are full of love, are full of kindness. And I think you just need to give people a chance. Sometimes we're so quick to judge. We're so quick to say, and dismiss people off. I think, and the way I look at it, everybody has an innate goodness to them. You just have to give them a chance. And you'll never be disappointed.
That certainly rolls off of you, Amynah. Like, you always love people. You're like, pre-pandemic, you were always hugging everybody, welcoming. Like, it felt so good. Like when we were in the same class, I'm usually rushing into the class and just figuring out, like, there's so much to do at home, at work, and all the homework. But then you were always there smiling and with a pleasant and calm sort of demeanor. And getting that hug from you was like, okay, I feel so much better now. Like, it made a world of a difference. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Julie. And you know what? You can never give a hug without getting one. So thank you too. It's both ways, right? And when you're talking about hugs, there is such a beautiful story about hugs. I remember I had volunteered for an organization, and I had a meeting somewhere on the East Coast, and I was flying, and I'd taken a red eye after work on a Friday evening. And I got to my layover around 5:30 in the morning, and I go into the washroom, to the restroom to freshen up. And I see this elderly lady. She was petite. She must be in her 70s. And early in the morning, and she's just walking out of the restroom. And I just had this deep-seated feeling that I needed to go talk to her and give her a hug. So I ran after her, and I stopped her in a trail. She was walking to the terminal, and I said, may I give you a hug? And she looks at me and she goes, why? I said, because I just have this feeling that I need to give you a hug. And Julie, before I know, she opened her arms and she was hugging me. And we hugged for a while, in fact. And then when I pulled away, I saw she had tears. And she said, thank you. And I just smiled. And she said, my son is in the ICU. He is very serious, and I'm going to see him. And that's why I'm flying. And she's like, this hug meant so much to me. It is a sign from the universe.
Wow, that is a beautiful story, Amynah. That's so, so grateful for, just given the story that you had the presence of mind, the awareness, and you were willing to act on it, right? Like you didn't just say, okay, well, she left, I'm going to let that go. You went after her, and as she said, it must have made a world of a difference just to hold on and make it till she sees her son, wherever she was flying to. I want to ask a quick question, just going back a little bit. That's the cutest story ever about meeting Anthony. Can you tell us a little bit more about, I think you've told me that you have different cultural, religious, and there's all aspects of diversity that brings you, involved in the family that you've now created together. Do you want to expand a little bit on that and how that works and how that's helped?
Oh, absolutely. Something I didn't tell you is I've been very involved in volunteerism. So I volunteer in an organization in our faith-based school. I actually have been a teacher. I've taught 11th and 12th graders for about 20 years now. Also a teacher educator, so I build modules. I go to different centers around the nation to conduct trainings. And during all of that time, and I feel everything that I've been able to do, Anthony has been my pillar. And like I always call him, I call him my cheerleader with pom-poms. He really is the true love of my life. And to go from a family that I had previously, where everything else was the focus but me, to going into a family where I have been the center of attention when it comes to my husband. And the beautiful thing is, I'm going to jump a little here, but with the girls growing up, they've seen that. They've seen how their dad treats their mom. They've seen the love, they've seen the kindness, they've seen the attention, they've seen that shift of paradigm where mom comes home from work, make sure she's tired, why don't you guys do this and I'll take care of the dinner. So they've seen that growing up. And he set the bar so high for whoever has to come into their lives now. So like I said, it's everything that happens in a life happens for a good reason. And there's always so much goodness. But Anthony and I have been together, like I said, for 16 years. He's always been my support system. And even religiously, I'm a devout Muslim. I'm an Ismaili Muslim. And Anthony is a Roman Catholic. And if you if you walk into our bedroom, you'll see on my side of the bed, you will see artifacts related to my faith, and you see a whole bunch of crucifix and artifacts related to Christianity. And in fact, with the girls and us, we travel quite a bit. We love to travel. And I think that is the way you really get to open yourself up to the mysteries of the world and embrace the love and meet people. And I know we just take these trips to just go and talk to people, local people. And every time, even with the girls, they would bring him a crucifix. So if you walk into the bedroom, you'll see these whole bunch of different crucifixes from different parts of the world.
So
That's
neat.
a little
That
collection.
is really cool. Yeah.
So coming back to your question, not just the country, but the people in it, and the people I've met, my husband, his family, his friends, and everybody that I have met have been so loving, so kind. And when you say that we are a reflection of people around us too, when you have so much love and kindness around, how else would you be but loving and kind?
That's a great way to put it. I mean, I never thought of it that way. I've heard the opposite, which is, what you see outside is a reflection of your inner self. And so if you're kind, you might see kindness around. But I love what you said. If you're kind and if you're surrounded by kind people, you can't be anything but kind. That's beautiful. I hope the audience takes away something from that, and we all reflect on how we can create that environment in our daily lives, not just for our families, but for the collective. So speaking about the collective, Amynah, you've been a big champion of just universal love, right? And how we are all sort of one. And I saw this quite a bit during our time together in the Executive MBA program. You lived those values too, right? You didn't just talk about it, you practiced it every day. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how it led you to sort of co-found Earthloved, a company that you started, I think, again, aligns with those values. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you for asking. That is such a sweet question. Personally, I think it starts with just understanding who you are. And the way I look at myself, we can either be a body with a soul or a soul with a body. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. When you say you're a body with a soul, you have this life. It's a mortal life. When the life ends, everything ends. But if you believe that you are a soul with a body, that means you have a soul which is eternal. And it is going to live on even after this physical life ends. Then your way of living life, your way of looking at life and people in it kind of shifts. And the way I look at life is, this life is just one small passage into eternity. So people that I have met in my life, have had me realize this. They have helped me realize that I'm more than just this body. And when you're a soul, that means we're all souls. And all of our souls are connected. Like you said, the universal soul, right? We're connected by the universal soul. And when you talk about the universal soul, it's like if one person, it's like your hand and your fingers. If one finger is in pain, your entire hand's in pain, whether you realize it or not sometimes. And that needs to be cared for and healed. And I think that's how I live my life. And it's not just us humans, but also the environment that we've been blessed with, the earth that we've been blessed with, the nature that we've been blessed with. We are caretakers in a way. And I think Earthloved is a brainchild. That's a project that I wanted to do when I was going through the MBA program, and kind of take all the learnings and put it into the universe. But at the same time, Anthony and I, we wanted it to have a cause, not just for financial purposes, but with a cause. And we decided to do Earthloved. What Earthloved is it's a very simple thing. We use a lot of plastic bags. During some of our trips, we saw how badly these plastic bags hurt our environment. especially our marine lives. And I had seen a documentary, we were watching something on the TV, and we had also seen a documentary that kind of tied in with it. So we said, what can we do that can help people? And there are people who are very conscious about how they use and how they take care of the earth. And one of the things people do is recycle, and they use reusable stuff. So we decided to come up with this product, which are these reusable PIVA bags, and they're food grade bags. So you can use them for your lunches and snacks, and they're little bags. And we're like, okay, we need a platform. So we decided to just do Amazon at the time. And we realized that all the bags that were available on Amazon were those ones where you have to actually close it. And it was difficult for elderly and for children to use those snap click bags. So we decided to order bags with zippers. So we're the only ones selling those reusable bags with zippers. So it was a little bit of a differentiator, and we wanted to kind of bring something that people would appreciate and use and would help them in their efforts to help save our universe. So that's where, or save our earth. So that's where Earthloved came from. It's been selling. People have really appreciated the product. So like I said, it was a small little project that we wanted to do to make a little bit of a difference into the universe, and of which we take so much. So it's just fair that we give back, or we pay it forward. So that was a little pay it forward.
Absolutely wonderful. The principle in general, and the product too, by the way, I have some of those bags in my kitchen, served as a great conversation point, right? Like with my 9-year-old son, and he gets it. He's also learning about this in school, and it was just a way to say we can make a difference, right? With these simple steps. And this is what my friend is doing. And so, I could see sort of him thinking about it and reflecting on it. What an incredible journey, Amynah. I think this could be a whole movie, in terms of, everything that you've covered today. Now, I'm going to ask you something, if you were to sort of distill this down into the one thing you wanted people to take away with them, as far as the learning from your journey is concerned, what would that be?
Very interesting, and thank you for asking that question. I would say kindness. Kindness is such an important value, but I would take it a step further and say be kind to yourself. When we talk about kindness, we talk about giving, we talk about honoring, we always talk about others, but sometimes we forget about our souls. And the most important part, I believe, of our life is our soul. So be kind to your soul, be forgiving. Let me tie it back to where we started from. So my ex-husband, I hadn't seen him for 13 some years. I'm talking about it 3 years ago when I went to India. I was visiting India, and I called him up and I said, I know we haven't connected at all, but I would like to meet you if you would be okay doing that. And he did. He came to meet me, and I could feel his body language was very uptight because he didn't know what it was going to be about. And I said, you know why I wanted to meet you? He's like, no. I said, because I wanted to say thank you to you.
Oh.
And
Wow.
and Julie, I could physically see his body language change too. And I said, thank you, because I would have never got out of that marriage. But you allowed me to. You let me. And because of that, I was able to grow. I knew what it was to love, but I did not know what it was to be loved until I met Anthony. And if he had not let me go, I would have never experienced that love. I would have never known what it is to be loved. I would have never known what it is to go back to school, to volunteer, to raise our kids the way we did. And there is just so much in this life that I owe to him, that because of him letting me go, I was able to live the life I was able to live. So a lot of times, I think it is so important to take a moment and just think about the life we are living and the people who've been involved in helping us live that life. And I think, like I said, being kind to yourself, being forgiving them just helps us move forward and just take that next step. And you know, Julie, there's this flag that we have that hangs on a bedroom that Anthony and I had picked up from a Tibetan store during a trip to Bali. And it is just so profound, the message, and it says, in the end, what matters most is how well did you love, how well did you live, and how well did you learn to let go.
Beautiful. Well said, Amynah. I don't think I've heard the concept of kindness better explained anywhere else. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Amynah, for joining us today. This was incredible. I know that the audience is going to get a ton out of this. And again, what a wonderful Valentine's Day edition to publish. Thank you. We wish you the very best. We will do, I promise to do my part to take a little bit out of what you just said and spread some joy and kindness. It'll be a fraction of what you do, but I hope it will help. Thank you again.
Julie, you're amazing and you're such a sweet part of my life. So thank you for having me on the show and for everything that you do. Much blessings and love to you and to our listeners.
Thanks everyone for joining in. That's it from Kadha for today. Signing off. Bye-bye.